start recording. Let me get a little thumbnail. That looks like, which one should I buy type thumbnail. Fiio FT1 and the Sony MDR-M1. $150 for the Fios, and then $250 for the Sony MDR-M1s. Decent price discrepancy, $100, especially when considering one of them is just over $100 in cost. That's, that you'd think this kind of a weird comparison. However, both of these headphones are like really popular in the current, online Reddit headphone space or YouTube space, whichever you prefer. Both of them are generally like recommended as like the best closed back headphone for under $300. They're both also stated to be very neutral. They both measure quite well, and they also both are considered and widely regarded to be very comfortable. I wanted to do this review because when I was shopping for either of these two headphones, I was looking around quite a bit. I wanted this exact comparison. These were my two contenders for I needed a closed back headphone, relatively affordable, and I wanted it to be very neutral. I didn't want to have to use EQ on it so I can monitor my little mic here. So the two things that were very important to me, three things actually, closed back, neutral frequency response, and then 3, comfort. Comfort is a big thing for me. So I'm going to be getting into that a lot here. I'm going to skip all the accessory stuff. I'm thinking if you're watching this video, you've probably seen like just about every other review of these headphones already. You don't need me to tell you what cables come with the damn headphones. You don't need that. I'm just going to skip right ahead to the sound. This is the closest thing we got to a comparison between the two of them. Gadgetry Tech, goated review on both of these headphones. He did a whole hour-long video, like comparing all the closebacks. I wish he would have made like a little bit more commentary between these two headphones, comparing them. That would have been nice, but it's okay. It's okay. Thank you for the graph. It's a little bit messy here because we got a little, we got the MDR-7506 mixed in. Just blank out the green line. You just ignore it. These, they measure pretty similar. You're gonna notice there's a little bit more like a mid bass thing going on here with the Fios, and then a little bit more on like this sub bass bump on the MDR-M1s. That is perceptible. I do experience that when I listen to them, but I think I also only perceive that because of what's going on over here. Upper mids, lower treble region, right here by the pinna region. The M1s kind of take a big dip and they sink down right here, and they don't come quite as high right here at the 2K region. The Fiio FT1, it's got this little bit of bump. I don't know if this is what I'm hearing, but let me just cut to the chase. The FT1 sounds kind of bright to me. When I listen to them, they got good soundstage, they got good imaging, but both these headphones got really good imaging. I'll say that. I think that the FT1 to me sounds a little bit more spacious. It sounds a little bit more wide, but also it sounds not very bright. It sounds more bright. When I put them on and I'm listening to stuff, especially something that's like a little bit more bassy, that's supposed to sound a little bit more warm, I find myself like thinking it's a little bit sharp, a little bit harsh. And I'm listening to the music and I'm like, this is good detail. I'm hearing everything that's going on. And it's got all this bass here, but it doesn't really have that much sort of impact to it because you have to have the volume down a little bit. This little section here, like the red zone, this 3K area, to my ears, it comes off a little bit hot. So I have to listen to them just a little bit quieter. And then when I'm listening to them a little bit quieter, I'm not getting quite as much like of that rumble, a little bit of that, that slam feel. Now, with the Sonys, I think that they have more of a neutral, comfortable sound. They don't look quite as neutral according to the graph, maybe, depending on your opinion of what neutral looks like. But because there's this dip in the pinna region, for me, I can listen to them for way longer without feeling like sort of agitated. And I do think that they sound a little better, if I'm being 100% honest here. In terms of detailed retrieval between the two, I think that they are kind of the same. I haven't attempted to EQ both of them to be exactly Harman curve and then try to compare the detail there for like the raw technicality difference. I would have loved to do that, but I'll get into later why I couldn't do that. Generally speaking, I think that if you tend to prefer a slightly brighter, slightly hotter presentation, you're going to really like the Fios. They're going to sound more detailed to you. I think that the Sonys might sound a little bit dry, not dry, just a little bit dull, maybe a little bit blunted. Probably that might be too far. Those words sound more derogatory, than I'm intending, because I think I prefer the sounds of the Sony. But I think as a, casual listening experience, the M1s are better. And even for like an active listening experiences, I kind of prefer the Sonys. I can just get them a little bit louder without feeling like uncomfortable with the sound. I give my girlfriend a chance to listen to the Fios, and she's not like the biggest audio person at all, but she also immediately noticed that she's like, they're kind of like sharp almost, like they're just kind of shouty almost. They're a little bit barking, I need something a little bit more rolled off. So overall description for the sound, it's going to be up to preference. I think you can't really go wrong with either of them. If you are a little bit more sensitive to this region or a little bit more sensitive to treble, I would definitely recommend the Sonys, just on the sounds grounds. Now, let me get into comfort. Comfort is going to be something that's quite important to me, at least. In my personal opinion, let me get this off. Let me go full screen for me. In my opinion, I think comfort is actually more important than sound in a lot of ways for headphones. That might be a controversial opinion, but if you got a headphone that, sounds like kind of but you can wear it all day, you could just EQ that sucker to be a pretty good spot, and then, just wear it all day. Be it not needing to like, oh man, my ears are kind of agitated, I got to take it off every hour. That's going to hinder your music experience more than something that, there's a little bit too much treble in this region, so I got to, EQ it down. For me, unless you are in a circumstance where you absolutely can't use any EQ, then you might be running into some issues. You might have to value the sound frequency response a little bit more. And also, if you're spending a lot of money, then you should be expecting like very good resolution, very good detail, really good imaging, maybe soundstage if that's what you're going for. But sometimes, a note about soundstage is that it's not always good. It's not always to your preference. Sometimes I don't like when vocals sound really far away. If I'm listening to Elliott Smith and like I'm listening to between the bars, he should be breathing in my ear. I don't want to hear him like 4 feet away from me. He should be right here. This should be ASMR. I don't like when the vocals get too far away. There's a time and a place for it. I do appreciate a nice sense of stage, especially for some like classical music, some jazz music. Ooh, that's really nice. Between the two of these, I do think that the Fios lend themselves really quite well to jazz and classical. More acoustic stuff, I think it does quite well. More electronically produced stuff, maybe you're going to be better off with the Sonys. I think pretty much everything else you're going to be better off with the Sonys. Also, for a lot of like folk stuff where it's just guitar plus vocals, I think I do actually prefer the Sonys as well. But stuff where you have like a lot of stuff going around you, like if you're listening to what's this album, Black Saint and the Sinner Lady, that's one of the greatest jazz albums. That's so good. You really get a good, especially track C, group dancers or whatever it is. You get a lot of placement of instruments around you. That's going to be a really immersive experience on the Fios. However, I also really like it on the Sonys. The Sonys, it's a little bit more intimate, and I think you have a little bit more slam on. There's a section in that same track where you hear like wow, like as like the like some of the lower instruments are coming in. I feel like you just get a little bit more rumble on the Sonys. It feels a little bit more like ooh, you feel in your chest. But anyway, I was trying to get to comfort. I got distracted, I think. I'm going to start off with the Fios. People have been saying, the Fios are very, very comfortable. Although some folks recommended getting the Capra Audio strap. So I'll be reviewing both. I'll be covering both of those. So the Fios, they are pretty comfortable. They're not the most comfortable in my opinion. I ended up getting a little bit too much pressure right on the temples. They were kind of pressing into the top of my head, and like that was kind of giving me a little bit of a little bit of a headache. And I was complaining about a little bit of a headache from the higher frequencies as well. It could have also just been the fact that they were just pressing into my head, and then there was like a confounding factor where I was feeling like, man, my head kind of hurts because they're squeezing my head at the top and pressing on my temples. And then the little bit higher frequencies, they sound a little bit more unpleasant to me because my head is already kind of hurting from like them just pressing in. However, the spaciousness of the cups is nice. The pads feel nice. I think if I just kind of, maybe if I wore them for like a significantly longer period of time, it's likely that they would have just, loosened up a little bit on the grip. The clamp force wouldn't have been quite as gnarly, but overall pretty comfortable. But I did end up ordering the Sonys because I was having issues with, one, the brightness, and two, the comfort. I wasn't ecstatic with it. Coming from the HD 8XXs, those are like the most comfortable headphones of all time. I loved those things. They were so comfortable. The Fios were significantly less comfortable. I did end up, you see this, it's a little bit scuffed here because I printed it out myself. But 3D printed Capra Audio head strap. You got to pay like $3 for his membership to be able to like print it out for the STL file. But it's worth it. It's cool. It works pretty good. It does make it a little bit more comfortable on the top. If you have issues with hot spots on the top of your head, this is a good move. However, I will say that it doesn't help with the issue of it pressing into your temples. So, that's that. Now, onto the Sonys. I'm using them currently to, monitor my microphone. However, I'm going to be taking them off to show you something. They're so light. The pads are so soft. These are a recipe for being like some of the most comfortable headphones, hands down. But they fumbled in one very messed up way. This shit pissed me off a little bit. Look at this. Let me see how well I can show you this. You see these pads? Look at how deep they are. Look at this. I can get like one fingernail before I'm hitting the driver. Like, it's so shallow. My ears are touching the driver constantly. When I put these on, there is never a moment where I'm not noticing that my ear is just feeling the driver. And also the driver's like, it's got this like plastic little cover on it. It's pretty tough stuff. Let me see if I can demonstrate that to you. Like, can you hear that at all? And like really, and by the front of it, there's like a little lip here. Let me see. I don't know if I could show you this. There's a little lip here. I'm not a headphone reviewer, so I'm sorry if this is really scuffed. But you can see this little like ridge. You can see my fingernails like sort of underneath it. That is there, and it like takes away the space even more. And I don't know. Nobody else on the internet was complaining about this issue, so maybe I got big Shrek ears. Maybe that's it. But take a look at my ears. I feel like I got like, when I look straight at the camera, you can't even really see my ears sticking out that much, right? I feel like I got sort of normal size ears. So I don't know why I'm feeling my ears on the drivers always. That's kind of annoying. Overall, they are still pretty comfortable, and I do like that I can lie down on a pillow with them without too much issue. They kind of press them forward a little bit. It's not ideal. It's not perfect. But what other headphones, over-ear headphones, can you lie down on a pillow? That's pretty rare. So that's pretty neat. But the fact that my ears rub on the thing, what can you do? Overall, for comfort, which one's better? It's a toss-up. It actually is a toss-up. If my temples didn't get pressed a little bit by the Fios would be, I'm showing you, wait, spoiler for later. Don't look at that yet. The Fios would be more comfortable if they didn't press on my temples. And then these would be more comfortable if my ears didn't rub on the inside. I think I can wear these a little bit longer, but I think that's only just because the sound out of them is a little bit more relaxed and I can listen to them longer. Overall, I think the Fios might be a touch more comfortable. Having my ears touch the hard plastic on the inside is bad. It's not ideal. That's something you got to note if you're thinking about trying these. If you're looking to buy something so you can wear it for like 8 hours straight, definitely make sure it's a website that you can refund it and you can just, give it a go and be like, I do have this issue or I don't have this issue. So comfort, it's a toss up whether or not you got Shrek ears or whether or not you got, sensitive temples or a wide head. Overall, both of them are less comfortable than other headphones that I've tried. I'd actually give both of them for different reasons, like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 on comfort. Just because the flaws that they do have they're pretty they're like one little thing on each of them, but that significantly worsens the experience of wearing them for me. Now, another thing I want to note is build quality. Normally, I don't really care that much about build quality because it's just like whatever. It's, as long as it feels nice on your head and it sounds good, it doesn't matter that much. I've had these for a couple days. I've had no issues with the Sonys. I like that they're plastic. I like that they're lightweight. That is a nice feature. Now with the Fios, you're gonna notice something interesting going on here. Mine just like exploded. Like the whole this piece just came off. I was literally just just wiggling it around, like not aggressively or anything. Like this is like perfectly normal use. And this shit just came off, dude. That's so bogus. It still works. I'm getting a refund. I'm returning them. I got all the little the pieces here. Let me adjust the camera. Let me see if I can do a little top-down view for y'all. Okay, pardon the messy desk. Get that dust out of the way. Look at these little there's two washers. There's a plastic washer, a silver washer, and then like these little metal nuts and screws. You might be thinking to yourself, oh, why don't you just put it back on? That's clearly just a screw that you can do. The way that you have to do this is you have to put one of the washers underneath this thing, one of them over this thing, and then this guy through the top hole on this thing, and then this tiny little screw, this microscope. Can you even see this? You can't even see this, dude. I'm using the phone to record. Tiny little screw with the tiniest little T0 screw. I don't even know if I have that type of tool. And then you have to slot this inside of here and try to screw that in on this thing to the other thing. You'd have to completely disassemble. I'd have to take off these screws on the side to be able to do that. No way I'd be able to do this without doing this. And even then, that you might be like, oh, that's still a relatively simple process. Sorry, I should probably not talk while I'm moving the camera around like an amateur. But doesn't matter. Whatever. You might be thinking, oh, just screw it back together. That's fine. It's not that big of a deal. You could take off, you can disassemble the thing and then reassemble it. I bought this pair of headphones, like a week or two ago. You really expect me to just, I'll spend $150 on a good and then just have the good disassemble itself in front of me and then just be like, oh, just reassemble it yourself? No, come on. There's a reasonable expectation for quality. And I think that the item just killing itself like this is not a reasonable standard for a good that you're purchasing. Between the two of them, which would I recommend? I think that if you're going to be monitoring sound for an exceptionally long period of time, I'd recommend the Sonys. If you're going to be listening to, more casual listening with the Fios, and if you prefer a slightly brighter presentation with a little bit more detail, a little bit more a little bit more zing on the delivery, I think you should definitely go for the Fios. It is going to depend on your personal sensitivities. And then for comfort, if your ears stick out a little bit or you're sensitive to things rubbing against your ear, do not get the Sonys. If you got sensitive temples from pressure, the Fios might not be your best bet. Or I would potentially recommend trying to stretch out the headband a little bit to loosen it up so that they sit a little looser on the head. But two things that could be problematic with that is, one, they're a closed back headphone, so a seal is pretty important in terms of making sure you get the right sound. So if you loosen it up too much, you might be loosening your seal. You might be losing some bass there. That would be problematic, especially with a headphone that's already bright. And then even worse than that is that if you're trying to loosen up the structure of your headphone here, you might end up with a disassembled headphone. So I wouldn't recommend it for that reason as well. If you're very careful with your goods and you got a nice, strong, durable head and you like a little bit of a brighter sound, I get the Fios. Overall, between the two of them, would I recommend either of them in general, compared to, everything else? I got to try some more closed backs. I think there's a small chance I might actually be returning both of them and looking for something else. I'm in the market for a closed back headphone that measures neutrally and is all day comfort. Maybe that's too much to ask. Maybe I'm getting greedy. I'm tempted to try out some of the Dan Clark audio stuff, the Aeon Closed X. Maybe I'll get a used set of those for $300, but it's already getting a little bit more expensive than I really wanted to spend. I was hoping to just drop $100, $200 and be happy. But, maybe I'll just have to go back to open backs. What can you do? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope it was helpful to you if you ended up here. Don't expect another one in the future. I'm probably not going to be doing too many headphone reviews. That's not what this channel is about, but I figured I'd make it just because this is something that I wanted to see. So I hope it's something that gave you some made your decision-making process a little bit easier.